everyone. Well, first of all, just welcome and thanks heaps for coming. This is an awesome turnout. So I'm really glad. This is a new format that we're trying with the professional development for mentors this year. Last year it was in a common curriculum lunchtime and not many people came. So it's really great that a lot of you can make it tonight. So Alison and Anna are careers consultants and Kirsten and Genevieve are training coordinators from the Curtin Leadership Centre. So I hope you get a lot out of tonight. There's quite a bit of workshopping, so you get to do a bit of work with each other. Tomorrow or the next day I'll be emailing you to ask for feedback. I might do it with survey or something. So you keep that in mind. We're always looking for some feedback about these sorts of things.
It's good to see you all here tonight. I'm really excited to be here. I'm Kirsten from the Curtin Leadership Centre, and we've got a really fun interactive session planned for you tonight. So I know that it's a little bit late in the evening and sometimes people are feeling a little bit tired, so hopefully we can get the energy right up. And it's going to be about you guys tonight. So what I'm going to cover is a little bit about leadership styles. So we're just going to go through a bit of an activity to get things rolling, get you thinking about what kind of leadership styles you prefer and what leadership styles are out there that you might want to employ in different situations. We're also going to look at the importance of self-awareness and emotional intelligence as a skill that you need to be able to develop as a leader, and how that fits in the bigger picture of your leadership journey, your career journey, your mentor journey, and everything that you do during university and onwards as well. We'll also, in that, look at a bit about our values, our strengths and our weaknesses, so that you have some time to really think about what you want to get out of this experience moving forward and what you want to take on to other leadership experiences that you'll have in the future, and also your careers eventually when you finish university. And we're just going to give you a bit of information about what's happening in the Curtin Leadership Centre at the moment, because there's a lot going on and there's a lot that you guys can get involved in to continue this journey moving forward into next semester and onwards, and even this semester as well, to complement what you're doing at the moment. All right, so let's get started. Just a bit of background about the Curtin Leadership Centre for those of you who haven't really heard much about us yet. We work on the social change model of leadership development. Basically what that means is that we believe in building people up through leadership, developing individual skills before we start working in teams and in the community. So you may already be working on some of these things. Obviously, as a mentor, you're working in groups with other people, and maybe you're involved in other community work through volunteering or outside in your jobs, whatever that might be. But ideally, what we want to do is build people up through developing and advancing their individual awareness of their strengths and weaknesses, their time management skills, their goal setting, and their leadership styles, and start building an awareness of what we can do to make ourselves more effective leaders, so that we can go off into teams, we can work better with other people, and then we can ultimately build on those experiences in our teams to affect change in the community. So it doesn't matter what you're studying or what your interests are, leadership is for everyone, and it's a process and an action that we have to practice all the time. So you don't just become a leader one day because someone gives you a fancy title, although sometimes that does reflect a place or responsibility that you have in society, but it's really about making sure that you're aware of your strengths and weaknesses and how you contribute to the teams and the environments around you. So we're going to look at a bit about individual. So consciousness of self, that's going to be really a big one that we're going to focus on today, because that underpins a lot of what we cover in the Leadership Centre, and that will underpin a lot of other things in your career development, in your journey through your degree, and a lot of other things that you want to do in life. So some of you have maybe already... Whoop, going a bit too fast. Some of you maybe already have thought about this quite a lot, and that's okay. Some of you might have been to the workshops already, already involved in Tier 2 or Tier 1, and that's fantastic. And what we're going to do today is hopefully give those people a refresher or a chance to go a little bit deeper. So there's always a little bit more that you can do to explore what your values and your strengths and weaknesses are, and because they're dynamic, they're going to be changing depending on the experiences that you have. It's really worthwhile revisiting this quite often so that you can keep in tune with what's happening for you and what's changing in your life. All right, let's see if this works. All right, so we're going to start off with an activity. If I could get everyone on your tables to select a leader, I'm going to come around and give you guys some instructions, and the leader gets the instructions and they're not allowed to share them with the rest of the group. So the instructions will tell you as a leader what you need to do with your group, and if you want to just follow the instructions on the piece of paper, you should have some blank sheets of paper and some pens in the middle of the table, so that'll help you with the activity. But we're going to have 4 or 5 minutes just to try and complete the instructions, and then we'll come back and have a chat about different leadership styles and how that all went. So I'm just going to hand these out randomly. And oh, actually, have you guys? Sorry. Do you guys just want to quickly select a leader, super quick, and then I'll give the instructions to the leader. All right, you're the leader. Who's the leader in this group? Leader, leader. Who's the leader in this one? Leader? Great. Any leader? Yep. Who's the leader in this group? You? Okay, sort it out. Who's the leader in... Oh, there you go. Who have we got over here? Yep. Who's the leader of this table? There we go. Ooh. Who's the leader on this one? Yep. Sorry, can I just switch through? Sorry. Everyone's gone quiet.
We're required to draw some pictures for every action and decision made. We need to vote as a group and ensure that we have a majority to continue. So like having to work as a democracy. You need to first vote on how you will vote to ensure a majority. So we will say yes for every stage. We're trying to complete this task.
Let's just have a look at what the groups with the red instructions had to do. So groups with the red instructions had to use an autocratic style of leadership. So what that means is the person who was given the instructions wasn't allowed to reveal anything about them and basically just had to give all the orders. Right, so there's no engagement, there's no conversation. Does anyone who had a red group want to just briefly share a bit about how that felt, maybe as the leader of that group? What?
You're ordering people and you don't want to force anyone to do something which they don't want to do.
Yep, so a bit aggressive, a bit uncomfortable, a bit awkward, perhaps not the most natural way to go about this kind of task. Did anything else come up for you, maybe as a group member, while you were in that specific task? You can't change what's going to happen because the leader's already made up their mind and they're basically just giving you orders and telling you what to do. So maybe you feel a little bit powerless or a little bit disengaged in that style, if that's something that you don't particularly respond too well to. What are some of the advantages maybe that style might offer us in certain situations? What could that style be useful for? The army? What about the army? Okay, yep, so life or death situations, emergency response situations where someone has to make a really quick decision. Okay, so that style could actually be useful for fast decision making when there isn't time to involve the group with ideas. You can't just sit around and have a chat and say, do you think we should shoot this one or this one? Or you just got to go, all right? So sometimes it can be really helpful to have that style. It's not always a bad style. It just depends on what situation you're using it for. What about some of the disadvantages? I mentioned a few already. Were there any other disadvantages or situations where you wouldn't use that style? Okay, so maybe some people have different opinions about what leadership styles they like in the workplace. Maybe young people are more interested in contributing their ideas, perhaps. So it's not that great for creativity, it's not great for involving people, it's not great for getting everyone on the same page and feeling included. Okay, so there are pros and cons to that one. What about the people who had the green sheets? An airport. Okay, so that's quite different. Did anyone else have a green up the back? You guys made... Oh, awesome. So with laissez-faire, actually it's a French word, it means to let things be. And sometimes in a leadership position, you might have a group of people who already are highly skilled or highly motivated, they understand the goal that you're working towards as a team, and you can really just let them go and do their thing and just step out the way. So some advantages of that, as you can see, we've got some really different things come out of that. So that's really great for creativity, for unlocking people's potential and getting them to really engage and involve themselves in the task. So we can use that to be really creative, be really interesting if we need to maybe do some research and development or create some really crazy new stuff. Obviously it takes a lot of time usually for people to go off and do their thing, and there's not a lot of direction, so they may not know how much time they have to complete something. So you could have really wild responses that don't actually meet the criteria of what you're trying to achieve as a team, and there's not a lot of time to correct that either. So that's another thing to keep in mind with this style. All right. Oh, that's just a little picture. He who leads least leads best. That's kind of the mantra of the laissez-faire style. And then finally, the yellow ones. We had democratic. So what was it like being the leader of a yellow group? Yep, so a little bit all over the place. Took a bit of time to get things going, perhaps. Did anyone else from a yellow group want to share their experience of that particular activity? Do we have any other yellow groups? Yep.
It was hard, like, letting go.
Yeah.
And like letting them, because she wanted to put the tail on the front, like on the face of the fish. Are you sure? I don't think it's gonna like make sense in the end.
Yep.
But that's okay. I went with it anyway.
Yep, so maybe a bit more compromise. So we can really use that to our advantage if we need everyone to be on the same page and we want everyone involved in the decision making so that they actually know exactly what they're doing when they have to go off and complete whatever task or goal it is that you've set. So that can really allow for creativity. Sometimes it does take a little bit longer, but perhaps not as long as the laissez-faire. Yes, it can be time consuming because people have to come to consensus before you can make decisions. So think about when you're in leadership situations, or if you're the leader of a team, what kind of style you need for that particular situation. So it's not always about having just one style or being a person who is a really awesome democratic leader. And you may have maybe a dominant style, but it's really worth thinking about how you react in certain situations. Sometimes maybe you're not an autocratic leader, but sometimes you might be in the situation where there's an emergency and you have to be that person. So it's really valuable to understand what other styles there are, so you can also identify when someone else is leading you in that direction, and if that's perhaps something that you're not particularly comfortable with, you can use that understanding to see where they're coming from and respond more positively to their leadership style as well. So that's just a little bit of a warmer activity to get you guys thinking about the ways in which you lead and you like to be led. Quickly, a few other leadership styles as well. These are some pretty famous leaders that most of you have hopefully seen already. So we've got Steve Jobs, Mahatma Gandhi, Marco Pierre White from MasterChef, and Aung San Suu Kyi, who's a political leader in Burma. So Steve Jobs was definitely an autocratic leader because he liked to have the final say. He would make decisions on behalf of other people quite quickly, and he wasn't afraid to kind of cut people off if he needed to. But he also had a really strong sense of what he wanted to achieve, and a lot of people were inspired by his vision. So there's advantages and disadvantages of his style. Gandhi was really a transactional leader because he inspired the people in his groups to go off and make change in the world. So it wasn't about him, it was about inspiring the people that he worked with to do amazing things. We've got Marco Pierre White, who's very much a transactional leader because he demands the best, but if you can deliver that, then you get the reward of his respect. So it's very much a two-way, you have to deliver, otherwise you don't get my respect. And then Aung San Suu Kyi was very much a democratic leader because she believed in the voice of the people and unlocking the people's potential and getting them involved in the political process as well. So just a final one on leadership styles. We had Lisa Scafidi, the Lord Mayor of Perth, deliver the Introduction to Leadership module where we discussed a lot of this as well. And she said something that really resonated because I think a lot of the time we think about what suits us best, but we don't think about what suits other people and how we come across to other people with leadership. So it's really important to make sure that you don't just have one leadership style, that you're flexible enough to read the play and understand what other people need from you as a leader. All right, so just revisiting that social change model of leadership, we're going to work on the consciousness of self stuff now. So we're going to do some activities in self-awareness. just before we do, does anyone want to tell me why it's important to be self-aware? So you can get better as a person, yep. So give you a better understanding perhaps of the reactions that other people are having to your actions and how you might be able to, in terms of leadership styles, be a more effective leader by understanding where they're coming from and tailoring your actions to their specific needs. Other things as well, really important for goal setting, for understanding your strengths and weaknesses, for understanding your values so that you can actually make decisions in life that suit you and that make you happy. A lot of the time, if we just kind of go through life blind, we don't really know what we're doing or where we're going or what impact we're having on anyone. So it's really good to just check in with yourself really regularly and have a look at what you are good at and what you are struggling with so you can improve your effectiveness as a leader and as a friend, as a human being, really. And I guess we describe self-awareness as it's really a valuable leadership competency because it does underpin a lot of the other things that we do as leaders. And we define it as the ability to recognise and understand your moods, emotions, the things that drive you, the things that make you excited, angry, what kind of leadership styles you prefer from others, what you prefer to do as a leader, all of those sorts of things, and how we can be more effective in those endeavours. So just briefly on emotional intelligence, which I guess is a really great framework to think about when you're trying to understand why self-awareness is important. We mentioned in the social change model that self-awareness is one of the key things to understand as an individual leadership trait to be able to move and progress to the other ones. But it's also really important for developing relationships because if we're not aware of ourselves, we can't begin to do the things like goal setting and time management, self-management techniques. And if we can't manage ourselves, then how are we meant to understand other people and manage our relationships with other people? So it's really great to develop this now, develop it for the rest of your life because it's always going to change, and to revisit that on a regular basis so that you're in tune with what's happening internally and you can make any adjustments you need to improve the effectiveness of your leadership styles and your relationships and everything that you do in life. Okay, so we're going to give you some time to do that now. So on your tables you've got a list of personal values. Just have a moment to think, perhaps you're going to go on a journey, you're going to pack a bag and you want to take 10 of the most important things with you. So instead of taking clothes, you're going to take some values with you. I want you to pick the top 10 just quietly and then we're going to move on to the next level, okay? So just have a quiet think about that for a few minutes. Imagine you get to the airport and they say, oops, you can only have 5, otherwise you're going to have to pay heaps extra. Sorry about that. If you want to pick the top 5 out of those values and then just have a really quick conversation with your partner about why you chose those 5 over the other 5. Okay, so just a few more minutes on that. So if you need, just have another moment just to think about what your top 3 are. I would definitely encourage you at home to look at that list again and maybe try and pick your top 1. Think about why that's really important to you. Maybe think about examples where you've applied that in your life. Or maybe if you don't think you are living that value particularly well at the moment, that's maybe something you want to look at, changing the way you behave in certain situations or however you want to start thinking about that. Just quickly, why do we think it's important to examine our values maybe on a regular basis? What are some of the things that we can get out of doing that? I guess to me, I see values as really important because I use them to guide my decision making. So if you come up against a particularly difficult decision that you need to maybe try and figure out what your response is going to be, it's often really useful to think about it in terms of your values. So what do you value? Do you value money over something else, or do you value kindness over family, or what is it that you really care about, and how are you going to use that to make decisions in your life so that you can live more authentically and be true to yourself? Just a really cool quote that kind of sums that up, I think, by Neil Armstrong, who's a famous astronaut, says that you can lose your health to illness or accident, you can lose your wealth to all manner of unpredictable sources, but what are not easily stolen from you without your cooperation are your principles and your values. They are your most important possessions, and if carefully selected and nurtured, will well serve you and your fellow man. So I think that really sums up what we're trying to get to with values, in that it's really good to know what's important to you and know what you value more than something else, so that you can use that to make some really solid decisions in your life. And you may not need to use them just now, but it's really good to start thinking about that and reflecting on that regularly, so you can see if there's any changes as well, and see if you're really living the way you want to be living. And just a quick note, there's actually an activity on the online content for Blackboard if you're interested in going a bit deeper on that. It's called Values in Action Character Strengths. It's a test, it's a 30 to 40 minute test that you can complete, and I'll send around the slides so you don't have to worry about writing them down. But you can delve a bit deeper on that. What it is, it's like a 240 questionnaire thing. That's why it takes a while, but it's really, really valuable. It's quite detailed, gives you the 5 most important things that you value depending on your responses. So it can be really good for a self-reflection on values if you're struggling to think about what you actually do value. It prompts you with questions. And I definitely would encourage you to look at that and maybe do that once a year as well, and see what changes you notice, because it's really interesting. I've done that a few times, and it's really interesting what you get out of that. All right, so let's just have a quick stretch break, because that was kind of deep, intense stuff. Everyone up. Maybe high five your neighbour. All right, so just changing a little bit, but it's still on the same kind of topic of self-awareness. We're just going to do another activity now so that you can explore a bit more about your strengths and weaknesses. So I want you to grab a piece of paper, maybe on the back of the values sheet or one of the blank pieces of paper you've got, and just divide it into 4 and have a think about, through your mentoring experience, what are some of the things that you've been really good at so far, or some of the strengths you think you have shown through the program already. What are some of the things you're struggling with or having difficulties with? What do you want to focus on improving? And also just have a think about what you like doing outside of the mentoring program that maybe or maybe not contributes to what you bring. So think about maybe some of the hobbies or the connections or other things you do outside that make you a well-rounded person, so that people can come to you from different angles and different perspectives. Okay, so just a few minutes on that, and then we'll finish up with a bit of information about the Curtin Leadership Centre, and you can have some food. Yourself. So everything that's in the open area is what your friends and you think about yourself, and then everything in the undisclosed area is what you said about yourself that your friends didn't pick up on. Everything in the blind spots is what your friends said about you that you didn't say about yourself, and then everything else is in the unknown. So what you can do with that is basically start looking at how you can expand that open area by either disclosing some of the things that you were maybe holding back from your friends or your colleagues or whoever you want to send the link to, and then also asking for feedback from those friends so that you can expand that area away and cover your blind spots as well. So you can start learning a bit more about yourself, and then hopefully through that you can grow and understand yourself a little bit better and how you're perceived by your friends. And it's a really interesting exercise. I sent it to my friends and I got like 5 responses within like half an hour, so it's really cool if you get some quite quick feedback, because it's super easy to do. And just kind of, I guess, tying it all in together, we mentioned the social change model of leadership. I guess the ultimate goal of that is really preparing you through those levels to be able to achieve social change or achieve change in the community. So through building an understanding of yourself and through looking at your leadership styles, how you apply those in different situations to different people, and looking at your self-awareness through the lens of emotional intelligence, values, strengths and weaknesses, and how you want to continue to evaluate those on an ongoing basis. It also links into career development, because when you think about it, your values are what helps you make decisions. So if you make decisions about your career based on your values, then that's going to really hopefully set you up for success and happiness in the future. And just to give you an example of that, I see this a lot in my friends as well, because I've only just joined the workforce recently myself. I was a Curtin student a few years ago, just like you guys. I was in the mentoring program. I know exactly what this all feels like. And I've seen a lot of my friends enter the workforce, and they go for the job that pays the most, or they go for the job that looks the best on their resume. I would really strongly recommend looking at your values first, because that's going to really set you up for success long term. You might get a really great job that looks great on paper and pays really well, but you might be miserable on the inside, and I've seen a lot of people do that. And it's not just about leadership, it's not just about how you get things done, it's about your satisfaction and your happiness as a person as well. So that kind of flows through on everything you do. So leadership is related to career development, values, all of that, it's all connected, especially because self-awareness is that pillar of everything else that you do as a leader and as a person. So I definitely encourage you to start thinking about a lot of these things on a regular basis, and think about how you can grow as a person and use those tools to develop your career in the future, to develop your abilities as a mentor, how you can help other people, and as a leader in the future, and hopefully end up creating some really amazing changes in communities as well. So just to sum up a bit about Curtin Leadership Centre, I've seen some of you at the workshops, so some of you look really familiar, but for those of you who haven't heard a lot about us, basically we're a 3-tiered leadership development program. We're new this year, so the university is really taking a strong focus on leadership development for students, and we're opening up a whole bunch of opportunities, so really get involved as much as you can, because this is designed for you. And what you can do is to progress through the levels. You're actually in a Tier 2 program at the moment already. Woohoo! Okay, so if you register, you can go straight to Tier 2. If you haven't done the Tier 1 modules yet, don't stress, they're online. You can do them at any time you want. So you can catch up on those if you haven't been going to the face-to-face workshops, if you didn't know they existed. And you can actually complete Tier 2 by the end of this semester and apply for Tier 3 if that's something that you want to do. Just to give you a bit of an idea of how to actually do that, we have 3 different study modes. So you can come to face-to-face sessions that we have on campus. We had one today with Fiona Wood. She was amazing. She talked about teamwork. Some of you might have been there. We had Lisa Scafidi come a few weeks ago. We've had another lady called Tanya who's done neuro-linguistic programming and stuff on the Lewin, and she's amazing as well. And we're getting some really high caliber speakers come in. So if you're interested in listening to what they have to say, and coming and meeting some people who are also interested in leadership development, then definitely register through Career Hub for those. I'll tell you what's coming up for workshops in a sec. You can also do live webcasts if you can't be on campus, so that has to be at the same time as the sessions though. So if you can't make the session because the time's bad, then you can't do the live webcast either. So that's only if you can't be here in person. So maybe you're an external student or you just don't want to come on campus, but that's available as well. And then we've also got the fully online mode as well. So I mentioned that if you haven't done all the modules yet, you can do them online. All you have to do is read through the content and answer some questions on the discussion board and fill out a reflection post, or there's all sorts of different requirements that you can go through for recognition for those as well. So that's an option if you're interested. And also as part of completion, you need to do 5 hours of volunteering for the first tier to complete Tier 1. So Curtin Volunteers is just over in Building 303, lovely people, amazing programs. Definitely get on it if you haven't heard of it yet, or aren't already on it. It's really easy to sign up to programs, and it's one of the largest student volunteer organisations in the Southern Hemisphere, so it's huge. And we've also, with Curtin Volunteers, we've got John Curtin Weekend coming up next semester, so if you haven't already heard of that, basically what it is you get to go to some urban and rural sites that they've set up to do volunteering projects with the community. So in groups of about 5 to 20, you get to go and do volunteering for maybe a whole day or a whole weekend, depending on the site. You get to organise for a group of your friends to go basically have a whole bunch of fun and help some people in the process. And this is a really awesome opportunity to make a difference in the community, to get some volunteering hours happening and also meet some fantastic people. Often you get to stay in a community centre or somewhere in like a dorm situation, so the actual cost of going is really cheap, and you have an amazing time. I've been on one before and it's awesome. And you really make a difference to that community because often they're quite small communities. So if you're interested in getting involved in that, you can go on any of the 6 weekends between those dates, and if you want you can contact Maureen by the 20th of May, although they are filling up really quickly, so if that's something you're interested in, definitely get on board as soon as possible. They're looking for site leaders at the moment, so that's another opportunity to develop some leadership skills if you want to do some of the logistics behind those trips. And then we've also got, as I mentioned, the face-to-face workshops. Next one is a Tier 1 workshop coming up on those 2 dates, so you'll get sent all of these. Don't worry about stressing about writing them down too much at the moment. This is a session where we'll go through some of the self-leadership stuff that we mentioned on how to use your values to create meaningful goals. So looking at what's important to you and then setting some goals around those and how you actually want to achieve those. And then if you want to attend that, you have to register through Career Hub. So if you just go to the website, it'll link you up to that. And then the next one on Tier 2 is coming up on the 8th of May. So that's with Dave Baccarini. He's a really funny guy. I've seen him present before. He's actually the manager of the Project Management Master's course at Curtin. Jen's running that one. And he's a really funny guy. He put in his description that this presentation will raise the question, why do we have projects? Probably because we have no choice. And references will be made to Tony Blair, robbing banks and marrying Madonna. So fun times guaranteed. And the last tier available as well, which I would definitely recommend for you guys, and Jen's just handing around the information on that. There's going to be some information sessions coming up on the John Curtin Leadership Academy, so some of you have heard about that already. And what it is you basically go on a 3-day leadership camp. You get to meet a whole bunch of awesome people and learn a bit about yourself and a bit about leadership. And then you do a community project for a whole semester. So you actually get to apply a lot of really practical skills in that situation. And it's a bunch of fun. It changes people's lives. It's incredible. I've done the program myself as well. And has Mel done the program? No. Someone else in this, Kayla's done the program. And it's just incredible, the change that you can see in people. This was the group from a little while back who set up the Relay for Life at Curtin, which is coming up soon, I believe. And there's been some really incredible projects that have happened through the John Curtin Leadership Academy. So if you're interested, there's some information sessions coming up in a few weeks, which are on your flyer. You have to register for the information sessions, so make sure you get on the website for that. And the application's closed by the 10th of May. If you have any questions during the break, you can ask either myself or Jen about that a bit more, because as a Tier 2 program, this will qualify you for, it won't qualify you, but it will definitely set you apart when you actually apply for John Curtin Leadership Academy, because it is application only. We do have limited spaces, so Tier 2 completion doesn't actually guarantee you entry to Tier 3, you have to apply, okay? So that's really important. Does anyone have any questions, just quickly? I know I've gone a tiny bit over. Any questions about Leadership Centre, about self-awareness, anything we've covered today?
If we're doing Tier 2, do we actually have to do Tier 1 as well? Or?
Yeah, so if you want to complete Tier 2 this semester, because it's the first semester we've run, you have to do a hybrid of Tier 1 and Tier 2. So there's 2 modules from each that you have to complete. So I think it's the Introduction to Leadership and Goal Setting and Time Management, and then Teamwork and Project Management, so the 2 from each. And then you have to also do the 5 hours of volunteering from Tier 1, and then the 15 hours of volunteering from Tier 2. Yeah, so you have to do kind of a mishmash. But yeah, you can actually complete it this semester. So if you attend the face-to-face session, we write down your attendance and we mark that off in Career Hub as completion of that module. So you can complete a module in 2 hours just by attending the workshop. But I would definitely encourage you to have a look at the material online, because it is different. Some of it overlaps, but it is different. It can extend you further, and if you interact with people on the discussion board and write a reflection, it actually really consolidates what you learn in the face-to-face, and we've had a lot of people do that already. So about half of the reflections we get are from people who've been to the face-to-face and just kind of wanted to process it and put it down in writing somewhere so they don't forget. And that's a really valuable way to really absorb the most out of the face-to-face sessions as well. So I would definitely encourage, but you don't have to if you don't want to. Yeah. Great. All right. I'll stick around for more questions if you have any pop up later, or you can also email at leadership@curtin.edu.au. Thanks so much for your attention. It's been really great to see you all engaging in the activities, and hope you got something valuable out of the session. Great. Thanks, guys.